The fact that they did not follow us at once into the house, as anyone else would have done, seems to me to show they have some sense of shame left.
They've been eating muffins. That looks like repentance.
They don't seem to notice us at all. Couldn't you cough?
But I haven't got a cough.
They're looking at us. What effrontery.
They're approaching. That's very forward of them.
Let us preserve a dignified silence.
Certainly. It's the only thing to do now.
This dignified silence seems to produce an unpleasant effect.
A most distasteful one.
But we will not be the first to speak.
Certainly not.
Mr. Worthing, I have something very particular to ask you. Much depends on your reply.
Gwendolyn, your common sense is invaluable. Mr. Moncrief, kindly answer me the following question. Why did you pretend to be my guardian's brother?
In order that I might have the opportunity of meeting you.
Oh, that certainly seems a satisfactory explanation, does it not?
Yes, dear, if you can believe him.
I don't, but that does not take away the wonderful beauty of his answer.
True. In matters of grave importance, it is style, not sincerity, which is the vital thing. Mr. Worthing, what explanation can you offer to me for pretending to have a brother? Was it in order that you might have the opportunity of coming up to town to visit me as often as possible?
Can you doubt it, Miss Fairfax?
I have the greatest of doubts upon the subject, but I intend to crush them. This is not the moment for German scepticism. The explanations appear to be quite satisfactory, especially Mr. Worthing's. That seems to me to have the stamp of truth upon it.
Oh, I am more than content with what Mr. Moncrief said. His voice alone inspires one with absolute credulity.
So you think we should forgive them?
Yes. I mean, no.
True. I had forgotten. There are principles at stake which one cannot surrender. But which one of us should tell them? The task is not a pleasant one.
Could we not both speak at the same time?
An excellent idea. I nearly always speak at the same time as other people. Will you take the time from me?
Certainly.
Your Christian names are still an insuperable barrier. That is all.
Our Christian names? Is that all? We're going to be christened this afternoon.
For my sake, you are prepared to do this terrible thing?
I am.
To please me, you are going to face this fearful ordeal.
I am.
How absurd to talk about the equality of the sexes. Where questions of self-sacrifice are concerned, men are infinitely beyond us.
We are.
They have moments of physical courage. We women know absolutely nothing.
Darling!
Darling.
Lady Bracknell?
Oh, good heavens! Gwendolyn, what does this mean?
Merely that I'm engaged to be married to Mr. Worthing, Mamma.
Come here. Sit down. Sit down immediately. Hesitation of any kind is a sign of mental decay in the young. Physical weakness in the old. Apprised, sir, of my daughter's sudden flight by her trusty maid, whose confidence I purchased by means of a small coin, I followed her at once by a luggage train. Her unhappy father is, I'm glad to say, under the impression she is attending a more than usually lengthy lecture by the University Extension Scheme on the influence of a permanent income on thought. I do not propose to undeceive him. Indeed, I have never undeceived him on any subject. I would consider it wrong. But of course, you will clearly understand that all communication between yourself and my daughter must cease immediately from this moment. On this point, as indeed on all points, I am firm.
But I am engaged to be married to Gwendolyn, Lady Bracknell.
You are nothing of the kind, sir. And now as regards my nephew Algernon. Algernon.
Oh, yes, Aunt Augusta?
May I ask if it is in this house that your invalid friend Mr. Bunbury resides?
Oh, no, Bunbury doesn't live here. Bunbury is somewhere else at present. In fact, Bunbury is dead.
Dead? When did he die? His death was extremely sudden.
Oh, I killed Bunbury this afternoon. I mean, poor Bunbury died this afternoon.
What did he die of?
Bunbury? Oh, he was quite exploded.
Exploded? Was he the victim of a revolutionary outrage? I had no idea Mr. Bunbury was interested in social legislation. If so, he is well punished for his morbidity.
My dear Aunt Augusta, I mean, he was found out. The doctors found out that he could not live. That is what I mean. And so, Bunbury died.
He seems to have had great confidence in the opinion of his physicians. I am glad, however, that he made up his mind at the last to some definite course of action and acted under proper medical advice. And now that we have got rid of this Mr. Bunbury, may I ask you, Mr. Worthing, who is that young person whose hand my nephew Algernon is holding in what seems to me a peculiarly unnecessary manner?
That lady is Miss Cecily Cardew, my ward.
I'm engaged to be married to Cecily, Aunt Augusta.
I beg your pardon.
Mr. Moncrief and I are engaged to be married, Lady Bracknell.
Oh, I do not know if there is anything peculiarly exciting in the air in this particular part of Hertfordshire, but the number of engagements that go on seems to me considerably above the proper average that statistics have laid down for our guidance. I think some preliminary inquiry on my part would not be out of place. Mr. Worthing, is Miss Cardew at all connected with any of the larger railway stations in London? I merely desire information. Until yesterday, I had no idea there were any families or persons whose origin was a terminus.
Miss Cardew is the granddaughter of the late Mr. Thomas Cardew of 149 Belgrave Square, SW, Gervais Park, Dorking, Surrey, and the Sporen, Fifeshire, NB.
Oh, that is not unsatisfactory. 3 addresses always inspire confidence, even in tradesmen. But what proof have I of their authenticity?
Well, I have carefully preserved the court guides of the period. They're open for your inspection, Lady Bracknell.
I have known serious errors in that publication.
Well, Miss Cardew's family solicitors are Mrs. Markby, and Markby.
Oh, Markby, and Markby! Oh, a firm of the very highest position in their profession. Indeed, I am told one of the Mr. Markbys is occasionally to be seen at dinner parties. So far, I am satisfied.
How very kind of you, Lady Bracknell. I also have in my possession, you'll be very pleased to hear, certificates of Miss Cardew's birth, baptism, whooping cough, registration, vaccination, confirmation, and the measles, both the German and the English variety.
Ah, a life crowded with incident, I see. But perhaps somewhat too exciting for a young girl. I am not myself in favor of premature experiences. Oh, Gwendolen, the time approaches for our departure. We have not a moment to lose. As a matter of form, Mr. Worthing, I may as well ask if Miss Cardew has any little fortune.
Oh, about £130,000 in the funds. That is all. Goodbye, Lady Bracknell. Also pleased to have seen you.
A moment, Mr. Worthing. £130,000. And in the funds. Miss Cardew seems a most attractive young lady, now that I look at her. So few girls of our age have any really solid qualities, any of the qualities that last and improve with time. We live, I regret to say, in an age of surfaces. Come here, my dear. Pretty child. Your dress is sadly simple. Your hair looks almost as nature might have left it. But we can soon alter all that. A thoroughly experienced French maid produces a really marvelous result in a very brief space of time. I recall recommending one to young Lady Lansing, and after 3 months her own husband did not know her.
And after 6 months, nobody knew her.
Kindly turn round, sweet child. No, the side view is what I want. Yes, quite as I expected. There are distinct social possibilities in your profile. The 2 weak points of our age are its want of principle and its want of profile. No, the chin a bit higher, my dear. Style depends very largely on the way the chin is worn. They are worn very high just at present. Algernon,
Yes, Aunt Augusta?
there are distinct social possibilities in Miss Cardew's profile.
Cecily's the dearest, sweetest, prettiest girl in the whole world. I don't care tuppence about social possibilities.
Oh, never speak disrespectfully of society, Algernon. Only people who can't get into it do that. Well, now, my dear, you know Algernon has only his debts to depend upon, but I do not approve of mercenary marriages. When I married Lord Bracknell, I had no fortune of any kind, and I never dreamed for a moment of allowing that to stand in my way. Well, I suppose I must give my consent.
Oh, thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Cicely, you may kiss me.
Thank you, Lady Bracknell.
And you may call me Aunt Augusta for the future.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
The marriage, I think, should take place quite soon.
Oh, thank you, Aunt Augusta.
Thank you, Aunt Augusta.
To speak frankly, I'm not in favor of long engagements. They give people the opportunity of getting to know one another's character before marriage, which I think is never advisable.
I beg your pardon, Lady Bracknell, but this engagement is quite out of the question. I am Miss Cardew's ward and guardian, and she cannot legally marry until she becomes legally of age. That consent I absolutely decline to give.
On what grounds, sir? Algernon is an extremely, I might almost say, ostentatiously eligible young man. He has nothing, but he looks everything. What more can one desire?
It pains me to speak frankly to you, Lady Bracknell, about your nephew, but the fact is, I don't agree much at all about his moral character. I suspect him of being untruthful.
Untruthful? My nephew Algernon? Impossible! He's an Oxonian.
I fear there can be no doubt about the matter. This afternoon, during my temporary absence in London on an important question of romance, he gained entrance to my house under the false pretense of being my brother. Under an assumed name, he drank, I've just been informed by my butler, an entire pint bottle of my Perrier Jouet Brew 89. I now especially preserving for myself. Continuing his disgraceful deception, over the course of the afternoon, he continued in alienating the affections of my only ward. He subsequently stayed to tea and ate every single muffin. And what makes his conduct all the more heartless is that he knew from the very first that I have no brother, that I've never had a brother, and I have not the smallest intention of having a brother in the future. I distinctly told him so myself yesterday afternoon.
Ahem. Mr. Worthing, after careful consideration, I've decided entirely to overlook my nephew's conduct to you.
How very generous of you, Lady Bracknell, but my own decision, however, is unalterable. I decline to give my consent.
Come here, my darling. How old are you, my dear?
Well, I am really only 18, but I always admit to 20 when attending evening parties.
You are perfectly right in making some slight alteration. Indeed, no woman should be exactly accurate about her age. It looks so calculating. 18, but admitting to 20 at evening parties. Well, it will not be long before you are of age. and free from the restraints of tutelage. So I don't think your guardian's consent, after all, is a matter of any importance.
I beg your pardon, Lady Bracknell, for interrupting you again, but the fact is that, according to her grandfather's will, Miss Cardew does not come legally of age until she is 35.
Oh, I do not see that as a grave objection. 35 is a very attractive age. Why, London society is full of women of the very highest birth who, of their own free will, have remained 35 for years. Lady Dumbleton is an instance in point. To my own knowledge, she has been 35 ever since she arrived at the age of 40, which was many years ago now. So I don't see why our dear Cecily shouldn't be even more attractive at the age you mention than she is at present. There will be a large accumulation of property.
Algie, could you wait for me till I was 35?
Of course I could, Cecily. You know I could.
Yes, I found it instinctively, but I can't wait all that time. I can't even wait 5 minutes for anybody. It makes me rather cross. I'm not punctual myself, I know, but I do like punctuality in others, and to wait, even to be married, is simply out of the question.
Then what is to be done, Cecily?
I don't know, Mr. Moncrief.
Mr. Worthing, as Miss Cardew states positively that she cannot wait till she is 35, a remark, I must say, seems to show a rather impatient nature. I would beg you to reconsider your decision.
But my dear Lady Bracknell, the decision is entirely in your own hands. The moment you consent to my marriage with Gwendolen, I will most gladly allow your nephew to form an alliance with my ward.
You are quite aware that what you propose is out of the question.
Then a passionate celibacy is all that any of us can look forward to.
That is not the destiny I propose for Gwendolen. Algernon, of course, can choose for himself. Come, Gwendolen, we have already missed 5, if not 6 trains. To miss any more would expose us to comment on the platform.
Everything is quite ready for the christenings.
The christening, sir? Isn't that somewhat premature?
These gentlemen have expressed desire for immediate baptism.
At their age? Oh, the idea is grotesque and irreligious. Algernon, I forbid you to be baptized. I will not hear of such excesses. Lord Bracknell would be highly displeased if he learned that was how you wasted your time and money.
Am I to understand that no christenings will take place at all this afternoon?
I don't think that, as things are now, would be of much practical value to either of us, Dr. Chasuble.
I'm grieved to hear such sentiments from you, Mr. Worthing. They savour the heretical views of the Anabaptists, views that I have completely refuted in 4 of my unpublished sermons. However, as your present mood seems to be one peculiarly secular, I shall return to the church at once. Indeed, I have just been informed by the pew owner the last hour and a half Miss Prism has been waiting for me in the vestry.
Miss Prism? Did I hear you mention a Miss Prism?
Yes, I am off to join her.
Pray allow me to detain you a moment. This matter may prove to be of vital importance to Lord Bracknell and myself. Is this Miss Prism a female of repellent aspect, remotely connected with education?
She is the most cultivated of ladies, a very picture of respectability.
It is obviously the same person. May I ask what position she occupies in your household?
Oh, I am a celibate, madam.
Miss Prism, Lady Bracknell, has been for the last 3 years Miss Cardew's esteemed governess and valued companion.
In spite of what I hear of her, I must see her at once. Let her be sent for.
Oh, she approaches. She is nigh.
I was told you were expecting me in the vestry, dear Canon. I've been waiting for you there for an hour and 3/4.
Prism! Come here, Prism! Prism. Where is that baby? 28 years ago in prison, you left Lord Bracknell's house, number 104, Upper Grosvenor Street, in charge of a perambulator that contained an infant of the male sex. You never returned. Several weeks later, due to the elaborate investigations of the Metropolitan Police, the perambulator was found standing at midnight by itself in a remote corner of Bayswater. It contained a manuscript of a 3-volume novel of more than usually revolting sentimentality. But the baby was not there. Prison! Where is that baby?
Lady Bracknell, I admit with shame, I do not know. I only wish I did. The plain facts of the case are these. On the morning of the day you mention, a day that is forever branded in my memory, I prepared as usual to take the baby out in its perambulator. I had with me a somewhat old but capacious handbag in which I intended to place the manuscript of a work of fiction I had written in my few unoccupied hours. In a moment of mental abstraction, for which I can never forgive myself, I deposited the manuscript in the bassinet and placed the baby in the handbag.
But where did you deposit that handbag?
Oh, do not ask me, Mr. Worthing.
Miss Prism, I must insist on knowing where you deposited that handbag.
I left it in the cloakroom of one of the larger railway stations in London.
What railway station?
Victoria, the Brighton Line.
I must retire to my room for a moment. Gwendolyn, wait for me here.
If you will not too long, I'll wait for you all my life.
What does this all mean, Lady Bracknell?
I dare not even suspect Dr. Chasuble. I need hardly tell you that in families of high birth, strange coincidences are not supposed to occur. They are hardly considered the thing.
Uncle Jack seems strangely agitated.
Your guardian has a very emotional nature.
No, this noise is very unpleasant. It sounds as though we were having an argument. I dislike arguments of any kind. They are always vulgar and often convincing.
Would appear so stopped now.
Oh, I wish you would arrive at some conclusion.
The suspense is terrible. I hope it will last.
Is this the handbag? Examine it carefully. The happiness of more than one person depends on your answer.
Well, it seems to be mine. Oh, yes. Here is the injury it received from the upsetting of a Gower Street omnibus in younger and happier days. Oh, and here is a stain on the lining caused by the explosion of a temperance beverage, an incident that occurred in Leamington. Oh, and here, in the lock, are my initials. I'd forgotten that in an extravagant mood I'd had them placed there. The bag is undoubtedly mine. I'm delighted to have it so unexpectedly restored to me. It's been a great inconvenience being without it all these years.
More has been restored to you than this handbag. I was the baby you placed inside it.
You?
Yes! Mother!
Mr. Worthing, I am unmarried.
Unmarried? Oh, I do not deny this is a serious blow. Oh, but who has the right to cast a stone against one who has suffered? Cannot repentance be wiped out an act of folly? Oh, why should there be one law for a man and another for a woman? Oh, Mother, I forgive you.
Mr. Worthing, there seems to be some error. There is the lady who can tell you who you really are.
Lady Bracknell. I hate to seem inquisitive, but would you mind telling me who I am?
I'm afraid that the information I have to give you may not altogether please you. You are the son of my poor sister, Mrs. Moncrief, and consequently Algernon's elder brother.
Alger's older brother? Did I have a brother after all? Oh, I always knew I had a brother. Didn't I always say I had a brother? Oh, Cecily, how could you have ever doubted that I had a brother? Oh, Dr. Chasuble, my unfortunate brother. Miss Prism, my unfortunate brother. Oh, Gwendolyn, my unfortunate brother. Oh, Alger, you'll have to treat me with more respect in the future. You have never treated me like a brother in all your life.
Well, not till today, old boy, I'll admit. I did my best, however, though I was out of practice.
Oh.
My own one. But what own are you? What is your Christian name, now that you've become someone else?
Good heavens, I'd entirely forgotten that point. Your decision about the subject of my name is irrevocable, I suppose.
I never change, except in my affections.
Oh, what a noble nature you have, Gwendolyn.
Well, the subject of my name had better be cleared up at once. Aunt Augusta. A moment, please. At the time Miss Prism deposited me in the handbag, had I been christened already?
Every luxury money can buy, including christening, had been lavished on you by your fond and doting parents.
Then I was christened. That settles it. What was my Christian name? Let me know the worst.
Being the eldest son, you were naturally christened after your father.
Yes, but what was my father's Christian name?
I cannot recall it at the present moment what the General's Christian name was. But he had one, I have no doubt. He was eccentric, I admit, but only in later years, and that was due to the Indian climate, and marriage, and indigestion, and other things of that kind.
Alger, I suppose you know what our father's Christian name was?
My dear boy, we were never even on speaking terms. He died before I was a year old.
Suppose his name would appear in the court, in the army lists of the period, Aunt Augusta.
Well, the General was essentially a man of peace, except in his domestic life. But I am certain his name would appear in any military directory.
The army lists of the last 40 years have been here all this time. All these delightful records should have been my constant study. Oh. Generals. Megsby, Mallaby. What ghastly names. Markby. Mobbs. Moncrief. Lieutenant, 1840. Lieutenant Colonel, Colonel, General. 1869. Christian names. Ernest. John. What did I tell you, Gwendolyn? My name is Ernest. I mean, it's been Ernest all this time, but it naturally is Ernest.
Yes, I recall now that the General was called Ernest. I knew I had some reason for disliking the name.
My own Ernest. I always felt that you could have no other name.
Gwendolyn, it is a terrible thing for a man to find out that suddenly all his life he has been telling nothing but the truth. Can you forgive me?
I can, for I feel that you are sure to change.
Oh, my own darling!
Oh, Letitia!
Frederick, at last!
Cecily, at last.
Gwendolyn, at last!
My nephew, you seem to be displaying signs of triviality.
Oh, on the contrary, Aunt Augusta. I've now realized for the first time in my life the vital importance of being earnest.